pledge? Unless I missed it.
Roll call.
We'll call first. You're Okay. Commissioner Brewer. Commissioner Clement.
Present.
Commissioner Echagon. Here. Commissioner Day.
Here.
I am here. And let the record show that Commissioner Franklin, Commissioner Nix are not here, at least yet. Okay. Now we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item number 3 on the agenda is public comment. This time is reserved for members of the audience to comment on subject matters that are not on the agenda, but are within the jurisdiction of the Lemoore Planning Commission. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per person. The commission is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters that are not on the agenda. Any handouts for the commission should be provided to the Planning Commission Secretary for distribution to the commission and the appropriate staff. I assume there are no handouts for us, is that correct? Okay. If anyone would like to make a public comment? Hearing none, then we'll move to item number 4, approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of May 10th, 2021. Everyone should have a copy of the minutes, having read them. Do we have any?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Do I need to comment on this first?
Yes.
Okay, just one moment here. We have a typo or something of that nature on the minutes. We went from item number 6 to item number 10 and skipped the ones in between. So let's note that correction. And that number 11 should be listed as item number 8 for adjournment. Those are the corrections to the minutes that I know of.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to accept it with the changes.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Echagon,
Second.
second by Commissioner Day. Any discussion? Commissioner Echagon,
Aye.
Commissioner Day,
Aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Aye.
Commissioner Clement,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Passes. Okay. Item number 5 is public hearing. Finding consistency and pre-zoning. Annex number 2021-01 BAT. Request by the People's Properties LLC, Austin Well Agent, for proposed annexation of approximately 137 acres located on the northeast corner of 19th Avenue and Idaho Avenue. APN numbers 024 052 through 59, 024 52 through 67, 024 52 through 68. So we will open this public hearing at 7:07.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Brandt, City Planner. This item is a finding of consistency and pre-zoning for an annexation that is being proposed in the industrial park area. I think there have only been 2 annexations in the last 20 or so years since the west side was annexed. So this doesn't come along very often. So I wanted to give you a short summary of the process that we go through when we do annexations. So this is the first step in the process, and what you're being asked to do is to review this annexation and its conformity with the general plan. Looking at what the appropriate zoning should be placed on the site if the site were to be annexed. And so that's called pre-zoning. So the next step in the process after we finish the environmental document will be to take it to the city council, where they will be the final decision maker on the pre-zoning, and then also whether to continue to move forward with the annexation application, which at that point, the city becomes the applicant and applies to Kings LAFCO for annexation of the site into the city. So LAFCO, or the Local Agency Formation Commission, is a third-party commission that makes decisions on annexations for cities, but also for other things like community service districts and irrigation districts and other things. So anytime there's a boundary change in a local jurisdiction, it usually needs to go before LAFCO for them to make the decision. So that's the final step in the process. They hold a public hearing, and then they make the final determination of whether the site is appropriate to be annexed or not. What LAFCO looks at, not so much our general plan, but they look at whether the city has the ability to provide service to the site. So when I say providing service, I mean all the things that the city does within its boundaries: police service, fire service, sewer, water, storm drain, park services, if it was a residential annexation, things like that. So that's what LAFCO looks at, and that's how they kind of evaluate it. As I said, this is the first step in the process. So if you look at the site, go to the next slide. It's, what did the chair say? It's 137 acres. There's a former dairy on the site that's not there. The dairy's not in use. And there are some houses that are being rented. But other than that, the site isn't really being used. The Lemoore general plan designates if you go to the next slide, you can see that the dark gray area is designated heavy industrial. The rest of the area, which is light gray, is designated light industrial. And light industrial is the predominant zone in the industrial park. There's just the small areas you see there, about 50 acres, that's designated heavy industrial. So staff would recommend that the top 20 acres be pre-zoned heavy industrial, and the rest of the site would be pre-zoned light industrial. If you go to the next slide, you can see what the existing zoning is around the site. So the light green and the dark green are the county zones right now. So the county has it zoned to agriculture. So the change that we look at environmentally is how that changes when it's only allowed for agriculture, but once it comes into the city, it's going to be allowed to be industrial. Now, the impetus for the annexation, the city manager's office is working on a proposed cannabis cultivation project. So that is what the initial use will likely be on the site, even though it's still going to be zoned for industrial uses. So that means in the future, industrial uses could go there. So again, your job tonight is to look at the general plan and determine that, yes, this is the appropriate zoning to go here, and that this is consistent with the general plan. So we're recommending that you adopt Resolution 2021-09, finding that it's consistent, and recommending to the City Council the appropriate pre-zoning.
Okay. Questions? Comments?
Yeah, Steve, what exactly would be the difference between the heavy industrial and light industrial? An example.
Ooh, to bring up my matrix. There's a few uses that, like heavy type of industrial uses, that are allowed in the heavy industrial, but would require a conditional use permit if they were going into the light industrial. So that's usually there's It's usually a matter of degree. Heavy industrial usually allows more outdoor industrial type things to occur, outdoor storage, things like that. So, but again, it's a lot of cities have a more kind of an even mix of heavy and light, and Lemoore, I don't know why that is more light, although we never really had an issue with getting industrial uses into the light industrial zone that we wanted to be there. So it's working.
So if this one spot is designated heavy industrial, could light industrial go in there? Can you go that
Yeah,
direction?
you can pretty much do anything
You can go
in the
backwards,
heavy
right?
industrial that you can do in light industrial. Yeah. So it's the heavy industrial is more inclusive than the light industrial, but it doesn't it might exclude some like sensitive industrial uses, like some things that are inside a laboratory and need like no dust or things like that. I don't know.
Thanks.
Are there any variances between the county standards of how zoning is determined versus what the city would determine? So like, are the standards for, like, say, the heavy industrial, are there any differences between a city's zoning for heavy industrial or heavy agriculture?
No, that's a good question. I haven't really looked and compared the two industrial zones. The county does have an industrial zone in their zoning ordinance. This site is not zoned industrial in the county. It's zoned ag.
Right,
in the county.
I'm sorry, that's why I meant,
But-
like, in terms of like the agriculture, like, those standards, are they identical, or are there variances at all?
Between the county ag and the city
Right.
industrial? Oh, yeah, a
No,
lot.
No, I mean between like a city ag and county ag.
Oh, it's not that different. The biggest one in this context is that the city has a cannabis ordinance and the county doesn't. So that's one of the main reasons why they proposed annexation, is they can't do what they want to do in the county. But in terms of comparing the two ag zones, it's pretty close. There's going to be some differences, but it's pretty close. The county one is probably more inclusive, mainly because the city's not really in the business of doing agriculture. So if we're going to have an ag zone, we probably will only allow the crops and things like that. We wouldn't want to put a dairy right next to the city. So
So
at least not a new one.
the cannabis company, they own the property now? Is that how that,
They have an agreement to purchase the site.
everything that's being annexed?
Yes.
Okay. Did they say when that's going to actually take place, or that's just being,
They want to start as soon as they can to get through this process first.
so they're waiting for it to be annexed before they purchase it?
Yeah.
Steve, have you gotten any information how many people would be employed if this goes through?
Did they say that?
Maybe 20, I would guess, based on other projects. It's just farming.
It's really just farming.
Is it basically like the ones that are over there by Burroughs and Gar? They're almost like a greenhouse, like a bunch of greenhouses, basically?
They're doing some in greenhouses and they're doing some open
Open fields.
fields. So the open fields would be almost similar to growing
They look like alfalfa.
tomatoes or corn or alfalfa. Yeah.
Are they going to secure the property, or?
Yes.
So, in terms of like the potentially adding additional land to the city, there's some areas like recreational areas, right, where a city has to allocate like a percentage of land for that use. Does adding this much property like increase that the necessary percentage
Oh,
rate?
no, that's a good question. No, because the the general plan plans areas even outside the city, because the general plan anticipates that we're going to be annexing land. And so it balances all that out. And then the annexations are more like an implementation of that. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes, this one is, it's within the sphere of influence and it's within the Lemoore general plan's urban boundary.
Are they gonna tap wastewater at all for irrigation purposes of any kind
They are looking at that possibility, yes.
to help?
So they can use treated water. What they have to do is they have to make sure that it's treated to the right levels.
To put it back in the
Sounds like they haven't worked it all out yet, but it sounds like if they use treated water, then this cannabis could not be cannabis that would be used for consumption. It would be for oils or other things like that. But again, I'm only speaking to what I've heard in the hallways. But that is something that will come before the city council when they're reviewing the permit application, how they're going to handle the water.
Yeah, because I was just curious how the water's working out with the city continuing to expand and.
The wastewater seems to be going well. Again, this is what I hear in meetings and in the hallways. They've recently done some upgrades to help Leprino with their wastewater. So it seems to be going well.
This question may be premature. If it is, let me know, because I know we haven't approved this. It hasn't gone to the city council, it hasn't gone to LAFCO. But normally in annexation, as you mentioned earlier, city services of all kinds are included in the property that is annexed. So the first thing that comes to my mind is water. Is there sufficient water to service this type of project, or are they going to drill wells? And if they are, what are they doing with the groundwater levels, with the regulations that are coming in? Is it 24 or 23 or whatever? It's going to really limit the amount of water anyone can pump out of the ground. I understand the fire and the police, all of that costs the city money, but hopefully there'd be some revenue coming in to offset that. But it's hard to offset water.
Yes. My understanding is that there's two sources of water they're looking at, either just hooking up to the city system and paying for the water they're taking out of the city system. And the second one would be a dedicated pipe coming from the wastewater treatment plant where there's some type of treatment done first to make it usable enough for the crops. I have not heard of them talking about drilling wells on the site. I don't think that the city would be in favor of that.
Well, agricultural takes water if
Yes.
plants are going to grow.
Yep.
And we're in a drought. Who knows how long it's going to last? Is there sufficient amount of water for the city to support that? And I'm sure that would come through all the environmental stuff and LAFCO.
Yeah.
They have to look at, I think they have to look at that. But that's a real concern that comes to me, because 137 acres of plants is a lot of water.
Yeah. According to the city manager, they've got a plan in place.
Okay.
Another question in regards to other types of services well, I guess the first question, there's roughly about 7 homes currently on that property. Are those people going to end up being displaced if this deal goes through?
The applicant has told me they intend to continue renting to those people.
And so with that, are they going to face any challenges in terms of like switching services? Like if where they live becomes part of the city and they have to transfer services from like county services to city services? What kind of?
I'm assuming they're on septic tank right now for sewer. So if their septic tank were to fail and there's a sewer line nearby, which I think there is in 19th avenue, then it would be up to the chief building inspector to decide whether they should hook up to sewer or if they'd be allowed to put in a new septic tank. There's distance requirements and things like that. Like if you're close enough, the city can require you to hook up to sewer. The policy, as I understand it, has been that we only do that when your septic tank fails. If it keeps working, we're not going to come knock on your door.
But the refuse service would probably change from
Refuse
county to
might
city.
change, yeah.
Now, if that happens to where the septic fails and the city comes in and says, hey, you gotta hook up, does the city incur the cost or does that go to the
Goes to
property
homeowner.
owner?
Property owner has to do it.
See, are there any projections and dollars coming into the city from this proposed?
I'm sure there are. I do not know what they are.
Any idea?
Projections for revenue from the cannabis.
Projections?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Could be significant, I presume.
We're expecting that, yes.
Yeah. Do we have any public comment? Pardon? Well, I know, but I'm asking if anybody, because I already opened the public hearing. Yeah. What was it, 7:07 or something of that nature? I think it was 7:07.
Our office didn't receive it.
Okay. Hearing none, then no other comments or questions from the commissioners?
One other question. So there's a tower in the center of that property. I'm guessing that's electricity due to like the poles and all that. What kind of impact is involved in the power there?
I'm not sure. If they don't, you said there's a tower?
Yeah. Like closer to the east side of the property and obviously, south of the boundary as you're approaching where that kind of chunk is kind of cut out.
Is it a radio tower maybe or is it power?
It looks like a tower. There's power lines that come down from it in a couple different directions. So it looks like electricity.
Unless it's
My first thought was cell tower.
Maybe.
Yeah. If it's anything powered and they're trying to remove it, they'll have to deal with PG&E to get it removed. Yeah, they are. I know they're looking at all the things they need to clean up that were left from the dairy.
Yeah, there's a few piles out there.
Okay. Hearing no other comments or any other questions, we will close this public hearing at 7:27. Okay, now we have a proposed, this is up by here. Motion to approve this pre-zoning.
So looking at this, I have to say myself that I think this follows the general plan. Everything out here is pretty much industrial. And from what I've read, our job is to just, whether we recommend that it is within the general plan and that the zoning is consistent. And I think it is. So I'd like to move to adopt resolution number 2021-09, which finds annexation number 2021-01 to be consistent with the general plan and recommends that the site be pre-zoned heavy industrial and light industrial in accordance with the existing general plan land use designations for the site.
We have a motion by Commissioner Eschgon. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Day. Any comments or questions of the commissioners? Call for the question. Commissioner Eschgon,
Aye.
Commissioner Day,
Aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Aye.
Commissioner Clement,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Passes
Thank you.
Item number 6, Director's Report. Judy?
All right, good evening. First of all, thank you all for showing up tonight for this special meeting. I appreciate it. We wanted to get it on the last meeting, but we had to have it noticed for 10 days, and that kind of slipped by us. So we appreciate you being here and getting this done and approved. Thank you. Approved, recommended for approval is what it, and then it'll go to City Council at some point in the future, not the next council meeting, but probably in maybe July. So we'll be looking for that one to come forward to them. Couple of items that have come forward for us. Master storage, you've all approved that. And we've been waiting for them to come forward with, or move forward with their project. They did submit an application or a new site plan with just some minor modifications. So we're going to work through the details with them. If they're minor enough, we'll do that in-house. Staff will do that. So I think that's where that one will land. So hopefully we'll see that move forward soon. And then the other one, we received an application for Silva 11. That's the Silva homes over on the curve of Highway 198 and Highway 41. Planning Commission had approved some housing units previously. That was all approved. It went to City Council. That was all approved. Now, right in the middle of the curve, there's an area there that they're moving forward with and want to get approval on that. So we just received those plans, so we'll have to go through them and sift through everything, but that will be coming to you in the future. The other thing was
Quick
that,
question on that?
oh yeah,
You said that they were solar homes, and I understand where the curve is. So are they talking about building different kind of homes or solar on?
oh, I
a
didn't say
portion?
solar.
Pardon?
I didn't say solar.
I misunderstood then.
I think you said Silva.
Silva,
Okay,
Silva 11.
all right,
That's what they're calling
good
it.
enough.
Sorry. You asked about the water treatment plant last time. Now, I don't know a lot about it, but I got a little update here. So there's two different ones going on. There's one out by West Hills College, and there's one up at Glendale and Lemoore Avenue. So the one out by West Hills College, they're going to be, within the next week or so, they're going to hopefully be able to ask the state to come here to test it, and then they'll be moving forward with that one soon. There's been some issues with SCADA, which is called Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. So they have to work through those details, and then once they get that worked out, and I'll tell you what SCADA is, because you're probably wondering, and I wasn't sure what it even stood for, but it says it allows the city to control the system locally or remotely. So they're working through those details, and then they'll call the state down to inspect that. And then the other one, which is the one out in Glendale, it says they're finalizing the loading of media, filters, and chemicals in preparation of commissioning and wet testing, which will occur the next few weeks after well 7 is ready. So first, the one out by West Hills College, get that one up and running, and then the one out on Glendale. And that's about all I know about this.
That's been under construction a long time.
Long time, yes. But it is looking good and moving forward, and it should be real soon.
Okay. Thank you. Item number 7, commission reports or requests. Do you have any?
I'm just curious when Lennar is going to break ground. I think I might ask that last time.
I don't wonder myself.
Out by West Hills, they have their grading plan in, so they're working on that to get that approved. Takes some time. But that's where they are. Hopefully soon. Get some other development out by West Hills.
I think a lot of us are like that old school Mervis commercial. Open, open, open.
Well, any other reports or requests? Hearing none, we will adjourn this meeting at 7:33.